Yo, so people, the accountant 2, right? Our team is back. You know what I mean? Gavin O'Connor again directs. Bill Dubuque again writes. Production-wise, the film is produced by Mark Williams, Lynette Howe Taylor, and Ben Affleck. It is executive produced by Danny Bernfeld, Matt Damon, Kevin Halloran, Michael Joe, Scott Lestiti, Jamie Patrikoff, Alison Winter, and Gavin O'Connor. It is co-produced by Sasha Veneziano and Wes Hagon. Bryce Desner took care of the music. Seamus McGarvey is on cinematography. Richard Pearson edits the piece, with Nicole Abellera and Janine McCarthy. I believe they casted the first film, but yeah, they definitely casted this one. All right, Jade Healy is production design. Art direction, we have Christopher Brown, Sandra Doyle Carmola, Rebecca Killam, and Katia Najara. Susan Benjamin is set decoration, and Isis Museddon is costume design. So hair and makeup, we have Melanie Young, Michelle Vitone, Tania Vega, Afton Staunton, Fania Rodenstein, Megan Riley, Roxanne Pike, Gloria Pasca Casney, Luca Nemoloto, Jennifer Nash Morgan, Jason Medina, Akio Matsumoto, James McKinnon, Sylvina Knight, Carly Herbert, Roxanne Griffin, Roma Goddard, Gino Freeman, Vivian Flores, Arlene Chavez, Elisa Buno, Merck Arcanu, and Ozzy Alvarez. Okay, so who is in the film? Well, returning is Ben Affleck as Christian Wolff, Jon Bernthal as his brother Braxton. We've got Cynthia Addai-Robinson again as Marybeth Medina, J.K. Simmons as Ray King, Alison Robinson is Justine. The voice of Justine is Alison Wright. So yeah, they're back. Daniela Pineda is Anis. Burke is played by Robert Morgan. Cobb, played by Grant Harvey. Batu is Andrew Howard. Alberto is Yale Asquio. Tomas is Lombardo Boya. Michael Turek is Ike Sudio. Sorkis is Fernando Chine. Gino is Abner Lozano. Medina's lawyer, the U.S. Attorney Gutierrez, is played by Talia Fisfield. Lane is played by Presley Alexander. Charles, played by Nick Sanchez. Sky, played by Avery Taylor. The date organizers are played by Christine Arizia and Jeremy Radin. The Beams, Mrs. Beam played by Betsy Baker, Mr. Beam played by Alan Brunholtz. Kayla is played by Cassandra Blair. Annie, Megan Grano. Laurie, Catherine Adele. Lindsay, Lizzle Cope. Darby, Monica Bahantaga. Harbour receptionist, Michelle N. Carter. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's our main... Oh, Angie from The Dance, played by Dominique Domingo. So yeah, I believe that is everyone. So yeah, okay, let's go to the gist of the story. When her former boss is killed by unknown assassins, alright, so they let that out the bag straight away. Right, Treasury agent Marybeth Medina is forced to contact Christian Wolff to solve the murder. With the help of his estranged but highly lethal brother Braxton, Chris applies his brilliant mind and less than legal methods to piece together the unsolved puzzle. As they get closer to the truth, the trio draw the attention of some of the most ruthless killers alive, all intent on putting a stop to their search. Dum 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 dum. So yes, there we go. Now, yeah, it's, you know, the original came out in 2016, so it's been nearly 10 years. Now, it's funny enough, Gavin O'Connor, who lives in Long Island, yeah. I think it's Long Island. Same place as Matt Serra, anyway. So he was on Matt Serra's, he's on Matt Serra's podcast, but he's on UFC Unfiltered, and they actually talked about The Accountant and the delay, right? And it was just a rights thing, you know. Then you had the actors and writers strike. So I think they wanted to make it earlier, but you had rights situation, Warner Brothers they wanted to go in a slightly different direction. So a lot of things held it up, but they got the rights and were able to make the film they wanted to make. So yes, there we go. And I will say, I thought this was better than the first film. Right? Now, there's still a lot of stuff that makes no sense whatsoever, but there are some funny moments. Yeah, I did laugh a lot. Now, a lot of the time it's because people getting killed in crazy ways, like getting run over or falling off a building. And maybe not everyone's going to find that funny, but that tickled me. You know, I think some of the other funny stuff, you know, wasn't necessary for me, but other people were laughing in the screen. So, you know what I mean? Definitely a funnier film. And from what Gavin said to Jim and Matt, yeah, they were going to, you know, they were going for more humor this time out. So I feel they accomplished that, right? We open up with Marybeth's boss, you know, Roy King, on a mission. Now, that was all a little confusing because it's just like, wait, has he retired? Is he working? Is he working with, you know, Justine and Christian? It wasn't clear because it's kind of like, if he isn't, what's he doing? Right? Because he hasn't really got the skills to go about this kind of mission on these J's, right? So you have that, but then you also have the thing of, right, if you're not a great fighter or anything, then surely you come better prepared, right? So the beginning bit, you can see what they're doing, right? They're doing a thing to bring everyone back to the table. It doesn't make as much sense because, as I said, you understand the dangers, so you come better prepared, right? And someone who is as seasoned as him, why wouldn't they come better prepared? You know what I mean? So all of that was a bit random and weird, but it got everything started, right? So we have all of that started. Now, we have a whole speed dating kind of thing going on. So, yeah, I mean, there was that, and that was fine, but it doesn't really do anything to drive the story anywhere. So it is kind of pointless, but it is what it is, you know? I think if you cut those kind of things out, you probably do have a sharper film, right? This is just over 2 hours again, and I think you can definitely get it tighter by just taking out some of those scenes that do nothing, right? So we have all of that, and then yeah, it's, you know, you're bringing him into it. Now, when you bring Jon Bernthal into it, there was I mean, the scene where he, you know, they have a conversation which leads him coming in, that at the beginning it seems weird, right? It all seems a little bit weird, but as the scene ends and we get more data, let's say, it is amusing, right? You're like, okay, this all makes sense, right? That's kind of funny, you know? So we have that, and the dynamic Bernthal and Affleck have on screen works, right? That really does help carry the film, because that whole dynamic works. It can get a bit silly at times, but it's, you know, it's decent. It's decent, right? So we have all of this. Now, we get more of, right, the Justine situation. So we see more of that, which is, you know, it's like, okay, right. You do have questions, right? You definitely have questions because, like, where you have the bit of, well, Frank, I think the big thing is, right, you get the impression Justine hasn't left her situation. So then when she's like going, oh, you should wear a different color suit, oh, you should do this, you should do that, it's just like, but where is she getting the context from? Right? So there is all of that kind of stuff. And then there's more to the situation, right? But where it kind of makes sense, right? You go, okay. But it's also kind of odd, right? Because you're like, okay, then to do it, you have to have consent from, you know, Justine's dad, let's say. How? Right? Like, there's all of those kind of things. Yeah, there's a lot of questions around this whole thing, which it doesn't necessarily make any sense, but it does kind of clear certain bits and bobs up. You know what I mean? So you do have that, but also, like in the first film with Christian, it does do that whole thing of the autism is very convenient, right? Now, again, you can say everyone's high functioning, but high functioning doesn't mean everyone acts the same, right? So, yeah, I think we do lean too much on everyone basically being the same high functioning people, which is kind of weird. Yeah, and it would have been better and interesting to have more nuance in that, right? Because then you kind of be like, it plays into, an issue getting data and things like that, right? Which, can make scenarios a bit like, oh, okay, what's going to happen here? But we don't really have that, right? The story kind of makes a bit of sense, but it does reach a lot. It definitely reaches a lot. There is a bit where there's something with the phone, right? Now, I couldn't see the image on the phone, the picture. So it's, you don't quite get what the deal is until, something happens. And it does then you kind of feel the excuse given doesn't really cut it. It does seem very wishy-washy, which is kind of weird, right? You have the whole dog thing, which is odd. Why? I'll say this: wild cats ain't that docile, right? Ain't that fucking docile. And the thing with cats, right? They can be cool, but the minute you change shit, then it can be, in war, basically, right? So the dog and the cat thing was kind of like, what are we doing? And we do get this weird female interaction, which it is a little bit like, that feels very out of left field, right? Like all of a sudden it's just like, ooh, boom, boom, boom. It's just like, huh? But, it is what it is, right? There are, these weird moments in the film. There are plot holes galore. But, as I said, I did think this was a stronger film than the first. With the humor, with the buddy dynamic, right? And I think even though the story is kind of a stretch in places, it just has a bit of a better flow to it for the most part, right? Like the first one, there are some real crazy, like, oh, so it's conveniently that you get here, right? And, looking for information seems to take no time whatsoever. But we know when it comes to cases and things like that, this shit can go on for years and everything. So, yeah, it's taking some real crazy stretches. And I think at times you do kind of feel, right, because there is the whole thing about, what was it called? Where I wrote it down. Oh, yes, quiet savant syndrome. Right, and it's kind of like, oh, did you just learn a term? So you're looking for a way to shoehorn it into the film. Right, sometimes you do get that kind of sense like, oh, they found something out, so they want to kind of include that. Right, so there is these things going on, but the thing being, right, if you enjoyed the first film, you're gonna like this one, right? Because yeah, it is better, right? It is better than the first. So if you like the first film, you'll definitely like this one. If you like things like the Beekeeper, right? A lot of the Guy Ritchie films, you know, we had that Jason Statham one recently, A Working Man. You know, if you like those things, The Accountant 2 is going to be just up your alley. So yes, The Accountant 2, it is now in cinemas. So people, go and enjoy. Oh, I did actually like the fact that where you got The Accountant 2, they put the 2 over the T like squared. You know what I mean? I think that's what that means. Yeah, maths wasn't necessarily my hotspot, although I did become, you know, kind of an accountant. But anyway, yeah, I like that. But anyway, Accountant 2 in cinemas. People, enjoy.